Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep into the fascinating world of drug metabolism and renal excretion.
Really interesting stuff.
It is. If you ever popped a pill and wondered what happens next, well, get ready to find out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are curious about that. What happens to a drug after you take it?
Right. It's a journey. And we'll be your guides, exploring how those drugs are broken down, mostly in the liver,
Yep, the liver is key.
and then how they're ultimately shown the door, through our kidneys.
Exactly. It's all about keeping things in balance, getting rid of what we don't need.
Love that analogy. I always think of drug metabolism like transforming a raw ingredient.
Oh, that's good.
Right, like taking something raw and turning it into something the body can actually use or easily get rid of.
I like that, like our bodies are master chefs in a way, skillfully modifying these compounds to make them, well, more manageable.
Exactly. And often that means making them more water soluble, right?
Right. Makes it easier for those kidneys to filter them out.
Okay, so far so good. But I have to admit something. Whenever I hear about the Michaelis-Menten equation, I kind of freeze up a little.
It does sound a bit intimidating, doesn't it?
It does. Is there a way to understand it without getting totally lost in all the math?
Absolutely. It's really about how enzymes work, how they break down those drugs.
Okay. Yeah, enzymes are key players here.
Totally. So the equation looks like this. Raw metabolic equals Vmax times C total divided by KLM plus C total.
All right, lay it on me. What do all those letters mean?
So raw metabolic, that's the rate of metabolism, basically how fast the drug is being broken down.
Okay, got it. Speed of breakdown.
Exactly. Then you have Vmax, which is like the enzyme's top speed, the maximum rate it can work.
Enzymes have a speed limit. Interesting.
They do. And C total is simply the concentration of the drug in the body.
Makes sense. The more drug, the more there is to break down.
Right. And finally, there's Kmem, which is called the Michaelis constant. It tells us the drug concentration at which the metabolism rate is half of its max.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how does this equation actually play out in our bodies? Does it have real-world implications?
Oh, absolutely. This equation helps us understand two important concepts: first order and zero order kinetics.
Okay, tell me more about those.
So imagine you take a low dose of a drug. The drug concentration is low compared to the enzyme's capacity to break it down.
Makes sense.
Right. So in this scenario, the metabolism rate is directly proportional to the drug concentration. More drug, faster breakdown.
Okay, so the more drug there is, the faster it's metabolized. But that can't go on forever,
You
right?
got it. That's where zero order kinetics come in. Imagine you keep increasing the drug concentration. Eventually, you reach a point where the enzymes are working as fast as they possibly can. They're saturated.
So it's like they hit their limit.
Exactly. No matter how much more drug you add, the metabolism rate won't increase any further.
I see. So that's why it's so important to follow dosage instructions.
Absolutely. Exceeding the recommended dose can be dangerous because the drug can build up in your system, and that can lead to toxicity.
It's like that second cup of coffee might give you an extra boost.
Right.
But if you keep chugging coffee all day, you hit that wall. Right?
Exactly. You get jittery, and no amount of caffeine will make you feel more alert.
Your system is overloaded.
Exactly. That's a great analogy for what happens at a molecular level.
So we've talked about how the liver breaks things down, but where do those metabolites go next? It's time to shine a light on our kidneys, those incredible filters that work tirelessly to keep our blood clean.
They really are amazing organs.
Seriously, they filter a mind-blowing amount of blood every single day. Something like 180 liters, right?
Yeah, an incredible volume. They're constantly filtering and reabsorbing substances, making sure the body keeps what it needs and gets rid of the rest, including those metabolized drugs.
Like a super efficient recycling system. I've always been fascinated by the structure of the nephron, the functional unit of the kidney. It's amazing how such a tiny structure plays such a crucial role.
Yeah, the nephron is quite a marvel of biological engineering. It's basically a long, winding tubule, and each section is responsible for specific tasks.
Oh, I remember learning about this in biology class.
It all starts with the glomerulus, a network of tiny blood vessels that acts as a filter. From there, the filtered fluid, called the filtrate, travels through different sections of the nephron: the proximal tubule, the loop of Henle, the distal tubule, and finally, the collecting duct.
Wow, it's like a whole little world in there.
It is. Each of those sections plays a unique role in reabsorbing valuable substances and secreting waste products.
So the glomerulus is like the first checkpoint, right, where the initial filtering happens. What determines what gets through this microscopic sieve?
It's all about size. Small molecules like waste products and many drugs can pass through easily, but larger molecules like plasma proteins, they're typically blocked.
Size matters.
It really does in this case. But another crucial factor is the unbound drug concentration.
Unbound. What does that mean?
So some drugs bind to proteins in the blood. Only the portion of the drug that isn't bound can be filtered.
Oh, I see. It's like only the free agents can pass through.
Exactly. And this process is governed by a pretty straightforward equation. Unbound drug removal rate, glomerulus, equals GFR times Q.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. GFR stands for glomerular filtration rate, which basically tells us how much blood the kidneys filter per minute.
Okay, so GFR is the filter's flow rate, essentially.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Q represents the concentration of unbound drug in the plasma.
Got it. So the amount of unbound drug removed depends on how much blood is being filtered and how much of that drug is actually free to be filtered.
Precisely. It's like a well-choreographed dance of molecules.
But does passing through glomerulus mean a drug is automatically out of our system?
Not necessarily. There are a few more twists and turns on this journey. After filtration, the fluid enters the proximal tubule.
Okay, another stop on the tour.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Some drugs can be actively secreted from the blood into the tubule, even if they're bound to proteins.
Wait, so even if a drug tries to sneak past by hitching a ride on a protein, it might still get caught.
Exactly. There are these special transporter proteins that act like tiny pumps, efficiently removing certain drugs from the bloodstream.
Wow, that's incredible. Our bodies are so smart.
It's an incredibly efficient system. And then there's passive tubular reabsorption, where some drugs, after being filtered, can actually be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream.
So it's like a two-way street?
In a way, yes. This reabsorption process is influenced by the drug's properties, particularly its lipophilicity and ionization. Yeah, some drugs are like little escape artists. They try to slip back into the bloodstream to stay in the body longer.
You mentioned lipophilicity and ionization. What do those terms mean? How do they affect this whole reabsorption thing?
Sure. So lipophilicity basically means how much a drug likes to dissolve in fat. Think fat-loving.
Okay, so lipophilic drugs are drawn to fat.
Right. And these fat-loving drugs can easily slip through cell membranes, including those in the kidneys.
So they can sneak back in.
Exactly. They're more likely to be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream.
So a drug's affinity for fat affects how long it stays in the body. That's wild. What about ionization?
Ionization is all about electrical charge. Does a molecule have a charge or not?
Right, ions.
Charged molecules have a harder time crossing those cell membranes. So if a drug is ionized, it's less likely to be reabsorbed.
So it's more likely to be flushed out.
Exactly. Excreted in the urine.
Okay, so lipophilicity and ionization are both key factors in how a drug moves through the kidneys.
Absolutely. And it gets even more interesting when we factor in pH.
Hold on, pH. Like acidity and alkalinity, how does that play into this?
It's all connected. The pH scale measures how acidic or basic something is, and a lot of drugs are either weak acids or weak bases.
Okay, so their ionization can actually change depending on the pH of their surroundings.
Exactly. That can really impact how they're reabsorbed in the kidneys.
Give me an example.
Okay, say you have a drug that's a weak acid. If the urine is more alkaline or basic, the drug will be more ionized.
So it's less likely to be reabsorbed.
Exactly. It's more likely to be excreted.
This is like a super intricate puzzle.
It really is. You have the drug's properties, the pH environment, and the kidney's own complex workings, all determining the fate of that drug.
Amazing. What other factors affect drug metabolism and renal excretion?
Well, age is a big one. As we get older, our liver and kidney function naturally declines.
Oh, right. So things slow down a bit.
Exactly. Drugs might be metabolized and excreted more slowly, so there's a higher risk of them building up in the body.
And that means a higher risk of side effects.
Right. That's why dosage adjustments are often needed for older patients.
Makes sense. What about diet? Does that play a role?
Diet can definitely play a role. Certain foods can interact with medications, either boosting or blocking their effects.
Like that thing about grapefruit juice.
Yes. Grapefruit juice contains compounds that can inhibit a key enzyme involved in drug metabolism.
So it can lead to higher drug levels in the blood.
Exactly. And that can be risky for some drugs.
Wow. So something as simple as what you eat or drink can really impact how your body handles medication.
Absolutely. It's all connected. And speaking of connections, we can't forget about drug interactions.
Right, like when you're taking multiple medications.
Exactly. They can compete for the same enzymes or transporters, you know, those little pumps in the kidneys.
So one drug might affect how another drug is processed.
Exactly. It can really throw things off balance, leading to unexpected side effects.
It's super important to tell your doctor about all the medications you're taking, even supplements.
And certain foods, too.
Right. So many things to consider. What about underlying health conditions?
Oh, yeah, that's important, too. Things like liver or kidney disease can definitely impact these processes.
So those folks need to be extra careful.
Absolutely. They'll need close monitoring and dosage adjustments. It's all about personalized medicine.
It sounds like that's becoming more and more important, this whole idea of tailoring treatment to the individual.
It really is. Understanding how individual factors like genetics, lifestyle, and overall health can influence drug metabolism and renal excretion is paving the way for more personalized treatments.
So it's like moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach to healthcare.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we all process things differently.
I like it. So can you give us some specific examples of how this personalized approach is being applied in the real world?
Well, one area that's really exciting is pharmacogenomics.
Pharmaco what?
Pharmacogenomics. It's all about how your genes can affect how you respond to medications.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're starting to use genetic testing to predict how people will metabolize certain drugs.
That's incredible.
It is, and this information can help doctors figure out the best dosage for each patient.
So no more trial and error with medications.
Well, not always, but it's definitely a step towards more personalized treatment.
Are there any medications where this is already being used?
Yeah, actually, warfarin is a good example. It's a blood thinner,
Okay.
and there's a lot of variability in how people metabolize it.
I see.
Genetic testing can help identify people who might need a lower dose, to avoid complications like bleeding.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It seems like this kind of personalized medicine could really revolutionize how we treat so many diseases.
It really could.
What other advancements are you excited about?
Well, drug delivery systems are another area that's rapidly evolving. We're finding new and innovative ways to deliver medications more precisely.
Like targeted treatments.
Exactly. We want to get those medications right where they need to go, to the specific tissues or organs.
To maximize the benefits and minimize the side effects.
You got it.
Could you give us a sneak peek into some of these cutting-edge delivery systems? What's on the horizon?
One really interesting area is nanoparticle drug delivery.
Nanoparticles.
Yeah, these are tiny, tiny particles, even smaller than a human cell.
Wow.
And they can carry medication directly to a target, like a tumor site.
So it's like a guided missile for medication.
Kind of. And the nanoparticles can be designed to release the drug gradually, too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you minimize damage to healthy tissues.
Amazing. Anything else in the pipeline?
Definitely. Another area that's really promising is the development of biopharmaceuticals. These are medications that are derived from living organisms.
Biopharmaceuticals. I've heard that term before.
They often have more targeted actions and potentially fewer side effects compared to those traditional small molecule drugs.
Wow. This whole deep dive has been incredible. I'm so much more aware now of the complexity of drug metabolism and renal excretion.
It's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it?
Totally. And it's so exciting to see how this knowledge is leading to safer and more effective therapies.
It's a really exciting time to be in this field. We're learning so much, and there's still so much more to discover.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. I hope everyone listening has gained a new appreciation for the incredible journey a drug takes through the body.
It's quite a journey.
It is. And it's a reminder that even something as simple as swallowing a pill is a complex and fascinating process.
Absolutely. And understanding these processes can help you have more informed conversations with your doctor.
Exactly. You can be a more active participant in your own healthcare.
That's what it's all about.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, stay curious, everyone.